We should start right now, Celia, right?
No, just wait a little bit because there are other participants.
People are getting in. Okay, so give me a sign when we get started.
Okay.
Morning, everyone. We will wait perhaps for 1 to 2 more minutes in order to start. I see that people are connecting. Perhaps I will start, and then
yes.
the people coming will connect. Good morning, everyone. My name is Cristina Colonna Distria. I'm very glad to welcome you here online in this online session within this webinar targeting Serbian public procurement market opportunity. Before going to the agenda, and I would like to explain you some logistic information. Please keep in mind that this webinar is recorded and will be shared on our P2Greenest website later on. And also do not hesitate during this session to write your questions into the chat. Me and my colleague Celia Sanchez will take them and ask them during the entire session in order to get some dynamic from this webinar. Some words about the time. We are starting now and we are supposed to end at 11:30 Central Europe time. About the agenda, we are very glad and pleased to welcome here today Mr. Stevan Radunovic, who is the president of the Serbian Association of Public Procurement Experts. He will be the teacher. He will introduce us to the public procurement market opportunities in Serbia because he knows very well the local context, and this is of great help to us. Before giving the floor to him, I will take some moments to present you briefly the P2Greenest project. I apologize for those who connected during the last webinars because it will be perhaps a little bit repetitive, but we have new guests, new connections from Serbia today. So I think it is relevant to give some insights for the service and support we provide to EU companies. After the project presentation, you will have a brief counter presentation for those who are beginners for Serbian market. And then Mr. Radunovic will enter into the details of the public procurement system in Serbia. As you know, this webinar is belonging to a package of 2 webinars. So the next webinar will be more focused on practical aspects of the bidding system in Serbia, with some tips for successful tendering, and even with a case study from a company, European company, which already did answer to tenders in Serbia, in order to give some to us some insights and some advice in order to be successful when bidding in Serbia. So I'm going to the next slide, if my computer is allowing me, to present you P2 Greenest project. I'm the P2 Greenest project coordinator, and this project has the ambition to support EU companies working in the field of circular economy, especially water, waste, and energy, to participate in public procurement in Eastern countries. Initially, the project was targeting Moldova and Ukraine, but we added Serbia after the war in Ukraine started as a third market, because we are really convinced that this market may bring nice opportunities to EU companies working on environmental topics. We are a partnership formed of 2 business support organizations and 2 clusters. I'm representing éco-entreprises, which is a cluster, circular economy cluster from the south of France. We have also in the partnership Green Energy Cluster, which is a biomass cluster situated in Romania, in Brașov, close to Brașov. And we have a federation of Asturian enterprises from Spain and the Chamber of Commerce and Industry of Moldova. So these 4 partners, we are working close together to develop a toolkit, a kit of services dedicated to SMEs, but also clusters and business support organizations, being able to facilitate your access in these 3 targeted markets. So speaking about the support, how P2 Greenest project can be of help to you, companies and business support organization. First of all, we did a market screening. The initial market screening was targeting just Moldova and Ukraine. So this market screening is already available in the project, on the project website. You can consult it, but also access the link. The presentation will be shared later on. But we will also add on the website some fact sheets about the country's contexts, and we will for sure add information also on Serbian market, because our colleague Celia Sanchez from FADE did the discovery visit last week in Serbia. She came with some fresh news. She will probably present you some insights during the second webinar about her feelings about this market. And yes, we will try to capitalize all these conclusions also in a fact sheet, which will be soon available on our project website. We did also a SWOT analysis aiming to understand the difficulties the EU companies may face when they wish to get internationalized in Moldova, Ukraine or Serbia, and taking into account these findings, we built up a series of webinars, 6 webinars. I will show a brief overview of them, and 2 of them are, of course, focused on Serbia. We are also going to organize 2 international trade missions, one in Moldova and one in Serbia. We put in place a e-watch tool aiming to monitor the tender opportunities in the 3 targeted countries. You can go on our website or access the link here and subscribe to this e-watch tool, which is identifying relevant tenders from the countries targeting waste, energy, and water sectors. And if you subscribe to the tool, you will receive alerts on your in your email, aiming to let you know about these opportunities. And if you are decided to go for bidding in these countries, we can, of course, far support you with a help desk with local experts from Moldova and Serbia, aiming to help you with language, legal or cultural barriers, and aiming to help you to bid successfully. Here you have just a timeline, some words about our project timeline. We started our work and cooperation in June 21. We will end it up as a project because we will still work together after in May 24. Some words about the upcoming future events. Additionally to the webinars, we are putting in place a networking place for you, companies and business support organization from Serbia, Moldova, and Ukraine and European Union. It is on B2Match. I will show you some tips to connect on the platform, and there you will be able to meet your peers in these countries and try to enhance some collaboration between SMEs or with business support organization, because during the SWOT analysis, we understood that it is essential to create consortia with local partners, local companies, which know the language, the cultural, the administrative requirements of these countries. And this is really relevant in order to get successful bidding. I would also like to let you know that we will be all present in Polytech Lyon for a cluster visit in France in October 23. Our partners will be there. And if you are planning to come to this environmental fair in France, do not hesitate to let us know in order to arrange some meetings with French companies and enhance this collaboration between East and European Union. That is some words about the trade missions. I said 2 trade missions are planned. The one in Serbia is planned for November 23 within in the framework of Eco-Fair Fair. And the one in Moldova will be organized in February 24 in Moldova within the event Made in Moldova, organized and managed by the Chamber of Commerce and Industry of Moldova. So if you wish to come with us during these 2 international missions, you are more than welcome to write us and to let us know in order to arrange tailor-made agendas with relevant confirmed contacts from these 2 countries. And we will for sure end the project with the brokerage event, international event in Romania in May 24, aiming to showcase to the audience the first good practices of our cooperation and our project. Here are the 6 webinars I was talking about. If you are interested by the previous 4 webinars, you can access them in replay on our project websites. 2 of them are more general, targeting general concepts of public procurement and international public procurement. And 2 of them are focused on Moldova, as the ones on Serbia. Today we are in these webinars, the first webinar on Serbia, and on the 21st of June, we will meet again for a second stage, for a second step of these webinars based on Serbia. I was talking about B2Match and the idea of helping you to do networking between peers. Please, if you are not registered yet, connect on our B2Match platform. We will share with you also the link in the chat during this webinar. It's very easy to connect. We have already 24 people in the platform. The idea of this platform is to create a community and to let you exchange and network together and to prepare somehow your bids and international trade missions. So if you are not connected, please register, and special dedicated slots will be available. Some of them are in short time, tomorrow, this afternoon, and on the 21st and 22nd of June. And some other slots will be also available in July. During these slots, you can arrange meetings with your peers and connect online through the platform. So please go in this platform and prepare your B2Match meetings. Here you have our team. As I said, we are 4 organizations. So if you have any other questions for the markets or for the project, do not hesitate to contact me or Celia, Mihai, and Boglarka from Romania, Spain, and Moldova. That's all for me, and now I'm giving the floor to Mr. Radunovic to present, to go into the details of these webinars. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. Good day to all. Just to see. Do you see presentation?
Yes.
Okay, okay. So hi to all. My name is Stevan Radunovic. I am president of Serbian Association of Public Procurement Professionals. It is an expert network and association which is made of, as the name says, public procurement professionals, which decided to connect and share knowledge about our profession. First of all, I want to apologize for my very hard Slavic accent. There is a risk when you have such hard accents to not sound very smart, but I can assure you that I'm a smart and intelligent person with vast and huge experience in this area. I have done, I think, more than 10,000, I repeat, more than 10,000 public procurement procedures. So I have done almost everything which you can meet in this area. By profession, I'm a lawyer, but my expertise is who are not. I can see that there are participants from the Serbia and also participants who are not from Serbia. Especially for those who are not in Serbia, I will try to show you some basic things for the start, but you shouldn't expect that you will be expert after this presentation. This is just 1 hour presentation about basic of the basic. We could talk weeks and weeks about public procurements in Serbia. The idea is that you get some overall picture how it looks in Serbia, and I'm pretty sure that at the end you will conclude that it is similar as some rules and system in your country, because our law or laws are also written and made in accordance with EU directives. We are in the process of we are the candidate for the EU and in the process of negotiations. So we are trying to everything harmonized with EU rules. So for the start, I made this as a first slide, and I think it's not just nice, but very symbolic. This is a river Uvac in Serbia. Very nice and beautiful river. it's not just a river, it's a whole water complex which is made from the river and a few lakes. Beautiful, crystal clear, cold water with beautiful curves between hills. And you can see the pictures of this magnificent bird. It's a griffon vulture. It's I think it's the biggest European bird, endangered species, and that bird lives exactly in that place, River Uvac and the hills around the River Uvac. It's the place with the biggest number of these endangered species. And why I'm telling and showing you that? Because this is the place where some of our hydropower electrical plants are placed. So when we are talking about renewables, this is what we want. Making good and green energy, which doesn't have negative impacts for the nature. So we can see the place when we have two relatively big hydropower electrical plants, and we can see how the nature is preserved, and not just preserved, it is almost perfect place for these endangered species to live. Not just for this griffon vulture, there are a number of the great and magnificent birds, like a great number of the eagles who are also living there. So let's start. Serbia. Serbia is southeastern country. You can see just to find the laser point. Okay, here is the Serbia, southeastern Balkan country. It was a republic of the former Yugoslavia. These countries here are former Yugoslavia. And why am I telling this? Because although all those former republics are independent states now, we all still are very much interconnected. Markets are open, road connection, traffic connection, railway connection, people connection, business connection, family connection. So when you're entering in Serbia, you are not just entering in the Serbia, there are open doors for all those markets around Serbia, especially for those countries which were former Yugoslavia republics. We all speak same language, or almost the same language, same business culture. So it's not just entering in Serbia market, there are wider opportunities. Serbia has 6.7 millions of population. It's a pessimistic number because 11 years ago we had 500,000 of people more. So there is a decreasing of the population. There is not so good birth and death ratio, but also it's because of the immigration, especially to the EU countries. Capital is the Belgrade. It is the biggest city. 1.6 million of the people lives there, but with surrounding places, it is almost 2 million of people which are living in the Belgrade and around Belgrade. The longest and the most important river is the Danube, which is one of the most important European river traffic lines. It goes all from the Germany through the Black Sea. So it's passing through many of the EU countries. Bordering countries, Hungary, Romania, Bulgaria, Croatia, which are EU countries. Then Macedonia, Albania, Montenegro, Bosnia and Herzegovina, those former Yugoslav republic, which I was talking minutes ago. There are some other big cities, Novi Sad, here it is, Niš, Kragujevac, those are cities fairly above 100,000 of people or several hundred of people. So their local governments are strong public procurements contracting authorities with fairly strong and good budgets. The currency is Serbian dinar, and our GDP is about 65 billions of US dollars. There is still no official number on our statistical agency, official number for the 2022. about GDP, but this is a fairly good and precise approximate estimation about GDP in 2022, which is used in official public procurement office report. So I use it as official number for the GDP in 2022, and it is 65 billions of the US dollars. We are EU candidate from 2012, so 10 and 11 years we are in the position of the candidate. We hope and we think it should be faster. So at the end, we will become the full member of the EU as some of our neighboring countries. We are industrial country and we are agricultural country. And why am I saying this? Industrial country because an industry is all over the Serbia, especially in this central part. Industrial country, it means that there is great energy demand and energy consumption. An agricultural country, and agriculture is specially developed in this northern part of the country, which is almost flat as a plate. It is this northern part, which is called Vojvodina, is a part of the great Pannonia floods. I think it's maybe the greatest and the bigger European floods. So this is agricultural country. It means some great opportunities for the renewables in the Serbia, and I will talk about that a few slides after this. And also, as I said, when you're entering in Serbia, it's not just Serbia, as same as there are some doors which are open for the former Yugoslavian republics, as Bosnia, Macedonia, etc. We have free trade agreements with numerous countries. As a European candidate, there are free trade agreements with the EU. Then we have free trade agreements with EFTA countries, and of course, we have agreements about the free trade with the CEFTA countries. So it is not about 6 or 7 billions of the people in Serbia, of the market in Serbia. When we are talking about free trade agreements, we can talk about 10 of the millions of the people and the market when you are entering in the market of Serbia. Of course, we have the free trade agreements with fairly greater number of the countries around the globe, but I put just these 3 agreements in this slide because this is a European project and we are concentrated on European companies and European markets. Why Serbia and public procurements in Serbia? We are not big country, as I said, 6.6, let's say 7 million of the people, but it is still fairly large public procurement market. So in 2022, we had, and this is from the official report of the Public Procurement Office for the year of 2022, we had public procurement market of 5.6 billion euros. Now I'm talking in the euros, so it's closer to you. 5.6 billion of the euros in formal public procurement proceedings in Serbia, and that is 9.3 of our GDP, serious percent of our GDP, but it's not over. This is 5.6 billion euros which are spent through the public procurement procedure. But also there were some procurements which were excluded from by their nature, those were procurements, but because of some reasons based on the law, they were excluded from the public procurement procedure. And we had more than that, we had 6 billion euros of those other procurements, which are or were exceptions from the public procurement procedure or under the thresholds which are in the law. That is fairly big amount of the money. Most of that money is energy related. And maybe that is why this number is also important for you. From these 6 billions, I think that almost on, or maybe even over 4 billion of euros was for buying energy. And that is what I was talking. We have energy demand and have energy consumption. Of course, these 6 billion were not in every year. That was the last year, and that was specific year because of many reasons. But nevertheless, we are talking about not just 5.6 billion of the euros, but we are talking about, when we combine with this other amount of the money, we are talking about 10 or 11 billion of the euros in the procurements in Serbia. And because the greatest number of these 6 billion is energy related, it's still important for our subject and our targeted areas. Why Serbia again? Because the public procurement law and all other bylaws which are connected with the public procurements are fairly harmonized with the EU rules. And you can see in the yearly reports of the European Commission that there is estimation that our public procurement law and system is harmonized with the EU rules. Of course, there are always some critics or something you can make to look it better, especially in the practice. But when we are talking about the rules and institutions, it's pretty harmonized with the EU rules. So you will relatively easily get used on those rules, and fairly you know it even now. We have very good, transparent, and efficient public procurement portal. So it means that our procurements are digital and transparent, and you can see everything you want to know almost in the real time. And that is very good for the bidders, especially for the foreign bidders. And environmental standards and rules are integrated in our PP law in almost every aspect. And I mean, from the basic principles to technical specification, criteria, rules about contract implementation. And that is something which is important for this project, to know that environmental standards and principles are in our law and are important for the public procurements in Serbia. Most important contract authorities in Serbia: Republic Fund for Health Insurance, so buying medicals. Maybe it could, I don't know if it is interesting in any way for this project, maybe because of the medical waste, because medics means medical waste. But the others are very important. You can see that there is public company now. From in the last few weeks, it's transformed into joint stock company, but in 2022 it was public company, Electro Industry Serbia. So it still is on this slide as a public company because it was public company in 2022, but now it is joint stock company, Electro Industry of Serbia, Electro Distribution of Serbia, Railway Infrastructure of Serbia, EMS, it is Electro Network of Serbia. So we can see that there are big energy related companies and contracting authorities, which are among the biggest contracting authorities and procurers in Serbia. And again, why is that important? There are thousands and thousands of procurers and contracting authorities in Serbia, but you can know all of them. You cannot contact all of them and you cannot screen all of them. But first 3 or 4 companies from those lists, from this slide, are 33, almost third, all public procurements in Serbia, in the terms of the value, not in the terms of the number of the contracts. These first and biggest 10 companies, all of these companies are about 40% of public procurements in Serbia in the terms of the value. And these first 3 or 4 are about 33%. So if you want to enter on the Serbian market, it is the best is to enter and screen those biggest companies. So you will get the biggest share of the public procurements in the Serbia, with dealing the smaller number of the public procurers and contracting authorities. And I think it's a better approach for you. And more about that it will be, and that practical approaches and advices will be in the next webinar. And I will stop here because of that, with that kind of story. Target sectors in Serbia, waste management. Waste management and waste in Serbia is really underdeveloped, disorganized, which is based on the landfills which are illegal, and we called it in our everyday talk wild landfills. You know, they're not in accordance in any regulation. They are just, you know, when there is some man and woman who firstly drop something somewhere, and there is a second, and after a week or a month, there are thousands or hundreds which drop some garbage on the same place. So we have a great number of those illegal and wild landfills, and that is a big problem in Serbia. In the last couple of years, local governments and governments local and regional governments had projects about organizing those and cleaning those landfills, and they cleaned about more than 1,000, I think 1,117 those of the illegal landfills were cleaned, but they showed up again. So we have a serious problem about this, and if we have a problem, that is opportunity for you and for European companies. So some of our disadvantages, if we are if you think about the Europe and solving problems as a train, and if European countries from the EU are the first cars of that train, we are not in the first car. So there are a lot of problems which are not solved in Serbia, and that could be great and good chance for the companies from the EU and from your countries, because I suppose if those problems are solved in your countries, there is no great demand for solution, but we have great demand for solution, and there is expectations that in next few years there will be billions and billions of the euros invested in the field of the waste management in order to clean and organize those illegal landfills and to build proper facilities which would be in accordance with the rules from the waste management area. You can see on this slide who are the biggest waste management producers. It's a very interesting slide. And from this, you can see that minings and energy sector are the biggest producers of the waste in Serbia. And the minings are usually, when we are talking about minings, those are usually coal minings, which are under our energy, which are part of our energy company. So we can say, and it is truth that our energy sector is a very big waste producer of the waste. And if we go back on this slide again, we can see that those energy companies are also in the list of the biggest contracting authorities in the Serbia. So this is the area, and those are the contracting authorities which should be of the great interest for your company if you are planning to go to the Serbian public procurement markets and to deal with the questions and the problems of the waste management. Target sectors, water. Again, a lot of problems. And if there are a lot of problems, there are a lot of opportunities for you. There are huge regions in the Serbia where there is a problem with drinking water, for example. So there is then again we have wastewater problems in some region, and also sewage system in many places. So all of these areas, drinking water, wastewater, sewage constructions, are the great opportunities for you. For example, I live in the city of Zrenjanin. And in the city of Zrenjanin, it is 2023. For 19 years, it is forbidden to use water from the city system for drinking. We didn't solve that problem for the 19 years. And it is, of course, the problem of the money, but not just of the money. We tried to solve that problem with one solution and then second solution, and we didn't solve it. It is also a question of some technical problems and technical solution and the know-how for implementing some good and modern know-how to solve the problem of the drinking water. It is not that that water is polluted or worse than previous. It is just that our rules are changed from 2004 we had new rules about the drinking water, and the consequence of that was that from that year the water in from the city system in my city is not allowed to use for drink. And for these 19 years we couldn't solve that, especially technical aspects of the problem. We tried to build some facilities, but we didn't solve it. So you can see on the example of my hometown, which is about, if we number small villages around the city, it's about 130,000 of the people. We didn't solve that problem for 19 years. It's a lot of time. And that means that there are some great opportunities for the companies who has technology and who has know-how in this area, especially in the areas of the drinking water, wastewater, and sewerage constructions. Renewable energies. So, energy sector is about 5% of more of our GDP. With the agriculture, it's the key sector of the Serbian economy. There is no doubt about that. And as other sectors of the state and economy, there is a process of harmonization with EU rules and EU standards. And it means renewables. Our energy sector and energy production is fairly based on the coal. And coal is not good, not just because CO2 emission, carbon dioxide emission, but because of the pollution. The coal is dirty. All those, if you remember those old movies or TV shows, if you remember, with those big chimneys and big dark smoke, which is going from that chimneys, that is the coal. So it is not the problem just carbon dioxide emission, it is also a big problem because of the pollution. And up to 60% of our production of the electricity is based on the coal. It's changing from the year to the year, from one part of the year to another part of the year. But when we want to talk about average, about 60% of total electricity in Serbia is still produced from the coal, and it is not good. All our economy must to transfer to some new green technology, or there will be no, because of the health, because of the environment, but because of some basic economy rules and the logic. We will not be in position to export to the European market. We will be subject of the numerous taxes if we do not harmonize with the EU rules and go to the green technology. Next is the hydropower, and hydropower is good. It's clean technology, it's renewable. Approximately 30% of our electricity is produced from the hydropower, and it's excellent. And there are still opportunities to develop hydropower even further than this 30%. Of course, it depends from the time and from the weather conditions also. For example, we have for the last month or the two very rainy periods in Serbia. Heavy rains are falling almost every day or the second day in Serbia. So the official data from the last week was that on the June of 8th, I think 53% of the electricity was produced from the hydropower. Because of those rains, we have strong rivers, strong flow of the rivers, and high level of the rivers and accumulation lakes. So the consequence of that was that over 50% of the electricity was produced from the hydropower, and everything else is up to approximately 10%. And we are talking about natural gas, wind power, biomass, solar power, etc. Solar power maybe is just a statistical mistake in Serbia. But what is great opportunity? It is a biomass. As I said a few slides ago, this northern part of the Serbia is agriculture. The Vojvodina is agriculture place. All of this is very flat and fertile land. There is corn, wheat, sunflowers, and other agricultural products all over this northern part of the country. What does that mean? It means there are huge millions of tons of the agricultural waste. Or maybe waste is not the good term, because maybe the better term is agricultural leftovers produced in every year, and we are talking about millions of the tons, which could be used much smarter than we are using it now, which could be used as a biomass for the producing of the energy. And this part here, central part of Serbia, is rich with forest. So there is a wood, and the forests, wood and wood particles, which could be also used as a source for the biomass and for the energy production. So it's a fairly good opportunity, and I think it is one of the greatest areas for the investments in Serbia when we are talking about green technologies. In your screening papers about Serbia, there is information that first two biomass-oriented and biomass-based plants, heating plants in Serbia, are opened in 2021, so 2 years ago. It's not, and I know because of my personal experience, it's not so true information. In 2012, there was open a fairly bigger biomass plant in town of Sremska Mitrovica, which is 10 times larger and bigger than those plants which are mentioned in your papers. As a chief public procurement in my company of those days, I was the leading procurement officer for that public procurement, when the result of that public procurement and the contract was the building of that biomass facility. So I have personal experience with that, but we didn't need from credit lines, from international fundings. We do it in silence. We do it with our own money, and we have done it in fairly short terms. So that was great experience and a great project. And for example, those biomass plants which you are mentioning in the screening papers for the Serbia are 1.8 megawatts installed power, and that biomass plant in Sremska Mitrovica is 18 megawatts installed power in that biomass-based plant in Sremska Mitrovica. So it is 10 times bigger, 10 times more powerful, and 10 years older than those biomass plants which are in your papers. Now, as I said, the value of public procurements in Serbia, just public procurements, so contracts which are signed through the public procurement procedure, is 5.6 billion of euros. Number of the contracts is, as you can see, fairly big, and the average value of the contracts, because of that a big number of the contracts, is not so big. It's about 22.4 thousand of the euros. There are 5,500 contracting authorities, plus or minus. And as I said, you are not in position to deal with every one of them. It is the best approach to deal with those biggest or bigger contracting authorities which are in your targeted areas. And this is something which is very interesting. Average number of bids per public procurement is just 2.5 bids per procurement, per public procurement. And in over 50%, 51.6% of the public procurements are with just one bid. So competition is not on the good level. And when you don't have fairly good competition, you cannot always achieve the good result. The good result is very often is the consequence of the competing values, competition. And when you don't have competing values, sometimes the result which you are getting is not the best. So we have not so good competition, and if we don't have so good competition, that means that there are some opportunities for you. And entering the market in Serbia is not just good for you, or could be good for you. It is also good for Serbia, in the meaning that that competition could be bigger than it is today. You can see this is participation of the utility sector and the regular sector. This orange is the utility sector. So it is just a few big, as I said, few big contracting authorities, and you can see how big share of the public procurements are in those few big contracting authorities. About procedures. Open procedure of the public procurement, so it means basic procedure, is prevailing. Almost 99% of the number of the contracts are concluded using this open procedure, or when we are talking about the value, about the money, almost 27.3% of the contract's value are concluded using this open procedure. So this procedure is something that you should know or learn about it, because all other procedures are like statistical mistakes, so should not be of any interest of you when we are talking in general. Open procedure is the most open and transparent and available procedure. There are no any privileges for Serbian companies in public procurement law. That is important to know. And it's in that way, in that meaning, is pretty foreigner friendly law. So you are basically in the same position as the Serbian companies. There are no any privileges for the Serbian companies in public procurement law. So when you are entering our market, and when you are bidder in public procurement procedure, it is important to know that it is foreigner-friendly law. What is also specific about our public procurement system is public procurement portal. So our procurements are fairly digitalized. It's digital PPs in Serbia. It means that everything is online. Everything is transparent, and everything is available to you almost with 1 or 2 clicks. Of course, if you want to use public procurement portal, it looks like this is the screenshot of the homepage of the public procurement portal. If you want to use it in full capacity, and that means to download documentation in which you are interested, or to make a bid or a proposal, you should be registered. But it is easy registration, almost like registration on some social networks. You know, you will pull and fill in some basic data about you or your company, and with 1 or 2 clicks, you're registered, and you can access to the all aspects to the public procurement portal. Everything is there. Annual public procurement plans from all of those 5,000 of public procurers in Serbia. Every public procurement with very few expectations are on public procurement portal. So you can find everything, everything from Serbia you can find on this portal. There are public notices, tender documentations, every communication between the contracting authorities and the bidders. Decisions are published there. Even appealing procedure is done through the public procurement portal. It also, what is important for you, it offers very easy tracking for the public procurements of your interest. So you can go to, I don't know, annual public procurement plans of some contracting authorities, some of those big contracting authorities, for example. Enter in the annual plan and check and click in the boxes of the public procurements in which you are interested, or click in some other segments of the public procurement portal. And the consequence of that, you will be automatically updated about, you do not have to think about anything. You will be automatically updated about everything which is done in that public procurement. When is the published notice published? When is the tender documentation published? If there is any question or the answer about tender documentation which is published, decisions when are published. So you're automatically updated, and it is very easy tracking for you. So honestly, this public procurement portal, nothing is perfect. So this portal is not perfect, but it is very, very good and very efficient tool. It's how it looks. You know, this is the screenshot with the annual public procurements plan. So you have the list of all contracting authorities. You have filters here. You can just enter the name or just the part of the name of some contracting authorities, and you will get their annual plan. And you can get in that annual plan and just check those public procurements which are of your interest to be automatically updated and to easily track them. This is how screenshot of the some public procurement. So you can see that all the documents are here from the tender documentation. You just click and download them and start with the process of making your bid. Legal framework. So these are the laws which are important for you. These with which are in blue color, are deep blue, dark blue color are especially important for you if you want to participate in our PP market. And that is law on public procurement with the bylaws, and law on public-private partnership and concession. Very similar law, but for the long-term relations with contracting authorities, because I think some of those problems or business opportunities needs to be done through the public-private partnership, because they're maybe better because of that longer term of the relations between the private partner and the contracting authority. Then there is law on obligation. That is something like civil code. It is a few decades old law, but almost perfect law. Why is it important? Because if there is something which is not written in the contract itself, when contract doesn't have solution for every problem, then it will be implemented this law on obligation. So this law on obligation is part of every contract. If you didn't exclude, if you don't make some specific rules, it will be used law on obligation. Administrative Procedure Act, which is very important because of appealing procedure, and state audit law. Institutions which are important. Public Procurement Bureau, it's central regulatory authority when we are talking about public procurements. It's important for the bylaws. It adopts bylaws in the area of the public procurements. It's important for the interpretation of the law. So their interpretation of the law are officially important. They're conducting training and educations. They are maintaining their institution, which is maintaining that electronic public procurement system portal. They are monitoring the situation in the field of public procurement, etc. State Commission or Republican Commission for Appeals in Public Procurement. They decide on the appeals in public procurement. So it is very, very important state institutions for the bidders, because if you think that your rights are endangered, you can make appeal to this Republican or State Commission for Appeals in the public procurement. There's State Audit Office, Ministry of Finance, and Public-Private Partnership Commission, which can be of great importance for you. their central authority in the field of the public-private partnership, but what is important, they give their opinion and are making evaluation. Can some specific project, which is of your interest, can be implemented in the form of the public-private partnership or concession, or it couldn't? And of course, there is at the end judicial system and the court protection of your rights. Basic principles. Why are important? Their foundation, basic values and goals of every regulations are in the basic principles. They provide a framework for interpreting the legal norm and the rules. As the name says, they're the basic foundation of a public procurement system. And if you want to know very well public procurement system, you should know something about basic principles. As I said, in the legal meaning of the word, they're important because they provide a framework for interpretation of the rule. If some rule you can interpret in one way, and the second way, and the third way, and when you have the dilemma, which is the true interpretation, the answer will be found in those basic principles. Or if the law or the bylaws doesn't have some solutions and procurer, contracting authority or bidders doesn't know how to act, the answer also could be in the basic principles. So it's significant for filling the legal gaps. And in the practice, it is very, very important for you for this last sentence here. In practice, those basic principles are very often used as a platform for appealings. So if you think that some of your rights are endangered, you will make appeal and say these rules and this part of the tender documentation is not in the accordance with basic principle of competition. It is against non-discriminatory principles, etc., etc. So, as I said, environmental protection is in our PP law from the very beginning, from the common rules and basic principles. So there are mentioning in the basic principles. So there is said that business entities are obliged to comply with obligations in the field of environmental protection, social and labor law. So in the very basic principles, there is a story in environmental protection. There is a principle of economy and efficiency. It means that contracting authorities must buy what is needed. They will not, they're forbidden to throw money on something which is not needed. They should buy something with what is needed, in the quantity that is needed, and the quality that enables to achievement the purpose of the public procurement. So it means buy what you need in the quantity and the quality that you need, without unnecessary waste of the time. And it is also important part of the principle, without unnecessary waste of the time. So it's basically principle value for the money. There is a principle of competition and prohibition of discrimination. So discrimination of any kind is forbidden, and the contracting authority is obliged to enable as much competition as it is possible in the public procurement procedure. Principle of transparency. If you want to have competition, everything should be transparent. Contracting authority is obliged to ensure that transparency of the public procurement procedure is enacted. And the main tool for that transparency is, as I said, public procurement portal, because everything is there and everything you can see there in almost real time. Principle of equality of business entities. Contracting authority should provide and is in obligation to provide that all participants in public procurement procedure are in the equal position. And that is that part which I said that it is our law is a foreigner-friendly law. So foreign companies and EU companies are in the same position as the Serbian companies. Favoritism and discrimination of any kind is forbidden. And there is principle of proportionality. You see this guy here, which is overwhelmed with the tons of the papers. Principle of proportionality means that condition rules and formalities, and God knows there are a lot of formalities, in procurement must be adapted to the needs, to the nature and degree, to the complexity of the procurement. Because the procurements are complex anyway, this is complicated and very formal area. So because of that, there is this rule that contracting authorities should not go with some additional unnecessary complications for the bidders. Tender documentations, I show you that they're available on the public procurement portal, and they're made from several separate documents. Technical specification. So technical specification is the part of documentation in which are written the technical requirements for that which we want to pay to buy. Criteria for the qualitative selection of a bidder. They are substantially conditioned for the bidders if they want to participate in public procurement procedure. Contract award criteria, is it a price or is it something else? Contract model, so there is a model of the future contract. Bid form, price structure form, bid cost form, and formal instructions for the bidders how to prepare a bid with all the informations and technical instructions which you need to prepare formally good bid on the public procurement. So because of this part here, all bidders, if read carefully this part here, should know how to prepare formally good bid. Criteria for the qualitative selection of a bidder. As I said, those are formal conditions for the bidders in order to participate in a public procurement. So it is very important to carefully read what are those formal conditions for bidders to participate in public procurement, and what are the proofs which you need to submit for those formal conditions, that you prove that you met those conditions. And it's formally very important, because if you do not meet these criteria, conditions, the offer will be rejected as unacceptable. You will be excluded from the public procurement procedure. They consist from ground for exclusion, which are implemented in every public procurement procedure. It's forbidden. It is forbidden for the companies to participate which committed some crimes which are mentioned in the laws. Not all crimes, but some crimes which are mentioned in the law. It's forbidden for the companies which didn't pay their taxes or social duties, and this is again important from the point of this project. It's forbidden for the companies which broken some rules about environmental protection, etc., etc. Then you have, and this is also important for companies which are not for Serbia to understand this. Those formal conditions, criteria can be made from the fulfillment of the conditions for performing professional activities. And among them can be some licenses and certifications from the state, from the Serbian state and Serbian authorities. So it means we are not still the member of the European Union. It means that we have still have some specific Serbian licenses in some fields or certifications in some field. So if you want to deal with a business and have a contract in some field, you need to have EU. Those papers from the EU can be ground for the nostrification or for easy procedure to get those Serbian papers. But if you want to make business in these areas, you will need to have Serbian licenses and Serbian certifications if you have to have, for example, in the field of the waste management, you need to have a real set of the licenses for the waste transportation, for the waste management, number of the licenses for the landfills if you want to operate landfills. So in this area, you need to have Serbian papers. It wouldn't be enough. It isn't formally good to have only papers from the European countries. And that means the consequence of that is that it would be very good for you or to have a local branch of your company in Serbia, so that local branch or company in Serbia, which is in your ownership, can get that papers. Or as alternative to that, to have a local partner in Serbia who has that papers, because without that papers, you cannot dealing with a lot of jobs and businesses in this area. And the waste management is a very good example, because from the transportation and the traffic through the all to the operating of the landfills, you need to have some of those licenses and certification from the Serbian authorities. And there are also conditions which are classical financial, economic, technical, and professional capacities. So contracting authorities can say, we will conclude this contract with bidders which have minimum this and this financial result or financial strength, this and this previous positive experience in this field, or which have working force of this profession and this experience, or managers of this profession, etc. So those are basically capacities which are used in order to get credible and experienced bidder for your public procurement contract. Criteria of the qualitative selection are also all available on the public procurement portal, and you as a bidder are feeling, when you are making your bid, feeling a statement on the fulfillment of the criteria for the qualitative selection. This is first level of the proof for those criteria. This screenshot here on the right side is how it looks. The statement of the fulfillment of the criteria, which bidders are filling on the public procurement portal, is something like a yes or no statements. You can see that you have some boxes which you need to check, or you are answering some questions. And only contracting authority will only for that bidder which looks the best, which is the best ranked, before contracting authority made the decision on the award of the contract, he will contact and ask from the best of the bidders to submit real proofs and real papers to check is he really meeting all those criteria which are part of the tender documentation. So if he met all those criteria, his bid will be the best, and the contract will be awarded to him. And if he doesn't submit those papers in the period time of the 5 working days, his bid will be rejected. Contract award criteria are consistent from the price, and the price is the most dominant in Serbia. As you can see, 96% of all public procurements in Serbia are based on the principle of the price, and all others are 4%. Why is that? Because the price is the easiest. There is also a principle of the cost by applying cost efficiency, such as the life cycle of the product. There is also the principle of the ratio of the price and the quality. It's about 4% of the public procurements in Serbia are based on the criteria of the price and the quality, and you can combine all of three of them to get something that you really want. But as I said, the price is predominantly in Serbia. 96% of all public procurement contracts are based on the criteria of the price. So who has the best price for those technical requirements and conditions which are in the tender documentation will be the winner. In order to start with the public procurement procedure, public procurement must be in the annual public procurement plan. So this is very important. Annual public procurement plan is a very important document. You cannot, with very few exceptions, which are related with some urgent situations. So with very few exceptions, all public procurements must be in the public procurement plan, which is good for you. That means that you can enter the public procurement portal and look all of that public procurements which be initiated in that year. And you can make some of your business decisions and business plans and strategies based on that. So in the public procurement plan, you can see what is the subject of the public procurement, what they want to buy, what they want to purchase. You can see how much money they think that they will spend. You can see estimated value of the public procurement. You can see the type of the public procurement procedure which will be implemented, and in 99% it will be open procedure, and which can also be important for your strategy or tactics in Serbian public procurement. You can see approximate time of initiation of the procedure. After that, when the contracting authorities wants to start with the procedure, they will make a decision on the implementation of the public procurement procedure, in which there same infos like this, like all those infos in annual public procurement plan. And a part of that decision will be composition of the public procurement commission or the person which will conduct the public procurement procedure. Almost everything in the public procurement procedure is done by the public procurement commission. It is they're very important part of the proceedings. As I said, there are several PP procedures. Open procedure most important. Restrictive procedure not so important. It's almost the same like the open procedure, just consist from the two phases. Maybe these procedures could be sometimes implemented and of the interest for you, because those, as I said, sometimes the technical solutions can be problem like the water in Zrenjanin, as I mentioned. And this competitive procedure and competitive dialogue are the procedure when contracting authorities know what he knows, what he wants. As example, I know that I want healthy and clean drinking water, but I don't know the best or all available technical solutions for that my result. And sometimes those procedures like competitive procedure or competitive dialogue can be good, because in those procedures you can have you are saying, okay, I want these results, and the bidders can offer you different technical solutions. You can see different technical approaches and choose one for which you think that is best for your problem. And after that, after you choose that good technical solution for you, then in the later parts of the procedure is the classical part of the public procurement procedure. So it's good. Those are good procedures, very, very rare implemented, but they're good for finding technical solutions when contracting authority itself doesn't have and doesn't know technical solutions for the problems which he wants to solve. We have said this before, but here you can see in the graphical way in this chart how open procedure is the most dominant among all public procurement procedure. The deadlines depends from the thresholds in the open procedure. It can be 3 days at minimum, minimum 35 days if the value of the estimated value of the public procurement is greater than equal or greater than amount of the European thresholds, which are mentioned in the European directives. If the estimated value is above those thresholds, the minimum deadline should be 25 days for submitting the bids. And for the lower amount estimated value public procurements, we have those short deadlines as 50 days for the public procurement of works. If the estimated value is up to 25,000 euros, or 10 days for the public procurements of goods and services if estimated value is up to 9,000 euros. Of course, deadlines could be prolonged as a result of the changing of the tender documentation. Contracting authority is obliged to prolong the deadline if he changed technical specification, qualification criteria, award criteria, etc. And it is also important to mention that bidders have rights to ask questions, ask for clarification, or say and indicate to the contracting authority about some deficiencies and shortcomings in the document, to warn him that something is not good in the tender documents and that he needs to change something. And he can ask those questions up to 8 days before ending the deadline, or the 6 days before ending of the deadline if the value is below EU thresholds. Opening of the bids is automatically on the public procurement portal. You can see it online, you can see it and track it from your own computer. You have the right, but you do not need to go to the contracting authority offices to see what is happening there, because everything you can see on the public procurement portal. Those are digital public procurements, and you will see opening of the bids in the real time, and you can see immediately who has the better price, or some other elements which are important for the implementing of the contracting award criteria. After the opening of the bids, the Public Procurement Commission enters the stage of the expert evaluation of the bids, and here they will research, are those bids in accordance with the technical requirements of the technical documentation? Is it that which are bidders offering, is it that what we are asking for? They will research, are they meeting the criteria for the selection, and they will calculate all the elements which are important for the contract awarded criteria. Bids that do not comply with the requirements, technical requirements and the criteria from the tender documentation will be rejected because they are not formally good, and acceptable bids will be ranked in accordance with the criteria for awarding the contract, and in the most cases it would be price in the Serbia. Bids will be rejected in cases which are mentioned in this slide, but in most of the cases will be rejected if there is something wrong in the technical aspect of the bids. If those technical requirements from the tender documentations are not met in the fully capacity, so it is enough that you have one requirement which is wrong or not fulfilled, and your bid would be must be rejected. So it is formally very important. They can be rejected often because of some formal errors with the financial security, bank guarantees, bill of notice, and similar. And because there is some formal mistakes connected with the criteria for the selection of the bidders, some formal mistake in the condition itself, or they are not fulfilling some condition, or some mistake which is related to the proofs of that conditions. There is a possibility to reject, possibility, not obligation, to reject offers which exceeds the amount of the estimated value of the PPP, or if contracting authority finds that that price is unusually low. And if you have the situation of the same price, you have this reserve criteria which can be implemented for choosing the best winner, or at the end you can use, and you can see on this little picture, picture here, lottery, if they're equal even on those reserve criteria. After they finished that evaluation process, decision will be made about awarding the contract. That decision must be published. Decision must be made in the period of the 30 days from the expiration of the deadline for submission of the bids, and must be published after it is made on the public procurement portal within the period of the 3 days from the date of decision making. These are the reasons when contracting authority can make decision on suspension of the PPP procedure. The most often reasons why the procedure will be suspended is because there are no bids or applications which are submitted, or when after reviewing an evaluation process of the bids, all bids are unacceptable because of some formal issues, or because they are not met those technical requirements. This slide is also important for you. It's about appealing procedure. So, as I said, there is independent state authority, which is called the Republican Commission for the Protection of Rights in Public Procurement Procedures. And it has law-based authority to resolve disputes in the area of the public procurement. They have president and 8 members, and in order to achieve better efficiency in their work, they're organized to work in three different smaller commissions, so they can deal with a greater number of the appealings. There are, I think, there was no report for the 2022 year, but from the reports from the years before that, you can see there are several thousand of the appealings annually, and I think in 3/4 or 2/3 of the cases, about, let's say, over 60%, 66% of the cases and appeals are decided in the favor of the bidders. So the most of the appeals, the result of the most of the appealing procedures are the decision which are made in the favor of the bidders. So there is a system which works and can work in your favor if you think and if you are sure that some of your rights in the public procurement procedure are endangered. There are 2 moments which are important for submitting appeal. It is before the deadline for the submitting of bids. You must submit it at least 3 days because before the end of the deadline for the submitting of the bids. And in this phase, in this moment, you're attacking and disputing the legality and regularity of the public invitation and the tender documents. If you think that tender documentation is not good enough, endangers some of your rights, this is the moment when you must make your appeal. You cannot make the appeal about the tender documentation after this moment. So if you want to dispute tender documents, tender documentation, you must appeal at least 3 days before the ending of the deadline for the submitting of the bids. And if you think that the contracting authority made a mistake in the decision, you can make appeal 10 days after the date of the publication of the decision. Republican Commission has a fairly short period for making a decision about your appeal. It should be 30 days, but in the reality, it is more than 2 or 3 months. I think that we are having some, okay, few minutes again. I will use some of these. You will not be short-camped. I will use those slides which, if we don't have time for all slides, I will use it in the next session.
Steven,
but,
yes, if you can conclude, yes. Because I'm afraid that people will have to, as we planned 1 hour and a half, I'm afraid that they will have to leave for other meetings. So perhaps we can conclude and then use some of these slides.
These two last slides, I think that can be important. It's about framework agreements, which can be used in Serbia. This is good from the mid-term relations with the contracting authorities, because framework agreements could be concluded for the period of the 4 years, up to 4 years. And as again, there is mentioned in your screen papers about Serbia that there is no public-private partnership law. I want to mention again, Serbia has public-private partnership and concession law from the 2011, which consists from specific public procurement procedures and concession procedures. And it is very good for you because of 2 reasons. First reason is long-term relations with the contracting authorities from 5 to 50 years. And because there is a good chance, based on formalization on this law, to act proactively. You cannot be proactive in the public procurements, classical public procurements, but in public-private partnership, you can be proactive. And that is possibility to propose public-private partnership projects to public bodies instead of passively waiting for the announcement of the public call for public procurement or the concession procedures. I will stop here and we will see you next week. I will use some of these slides also in the next session. I'm here for the question if there is any questions for me. Okay.
Yes, I was trying to unmute myself. I don't know if Celia, I have some troubles with the chat for the questions. Celia, can you just check if there are some questions in the chat?
Hi, if you have any question, you can use the question and answer section and we will receive it.
Yes, perhaps in the meantime, just to take advantage, because thank you very much, Stephen, for this rich and interesting presentation, which proves us that we should work on this market, because there will be opportunities in the upcoming.
You should solve the problem of the drinking water in my hometown, for example.
Okay. So we took note about this, and we will try to sensibilize as much as we can the European companies to get into these markets. I took note about during the presentation about the price aspect. So I was wondering if there is some work going on with the national government, etc., to sensibilize the public procurers also to this price aspect, because we all know that innovation and technology is not always the cheapest one. So I was wondering if you have some feedback or insights for this aspect. Are there some rising awareness events happening for public procurers in this sense?
We have now dialogue in Serbia about some changes in the law. We have expectation that new law or amendments on the law could be at the end of this year. So there is possibility to make some changes in this part. We can talk more about that in the next session if you want.
Okay, thank you very much. And I saw someone raising the hand, so I don't know if people can talk, but I guess so. Alexandra Milanovic, she was raising the hand. So Alexandra, please.
Never mind. There's no time for my question. I have too many questions, and I will be in paper. I can't.
There is some problems with the noise. We do not hear you very well, Alessandra. I saw that in the chat there was a question about the contacts of Mr. Radunovic. So if you agree, Mr. Radunovic, we will share in the chat your contacts for the attendees.
You are free to do that.
Thank you very much. And I do not see any other questions for the moment, but I'm inviting the attendees to, if in meantime they have some questions, to prepare them for the next webinar, because we will probably have more exchanges. We will have this case study with the company, and I suppose we will be able to have more exchanges during the second webinar. Thank you very much for your presentation and for this overall overview. I know it's not easy in one hour to give all these insights. I see Svetlana Baskovic raising her hand. So Svetlana, try. We'll see if the noise is not back.
Hello to everybody. I just try to ask Mr. Radunovic for the contact, because I have a few comments and questions for him, and I would like to prepare questions for the next session.
Okay.
So in the discussion area, Celia Sanchez shared his email address, so you can find it in the discussion section.
It is in chat. Just open the chat box and you will see my email there.
Sorry, but I couldn't see.
Perhaps in the questions and answers, Celia,
as for me, you can email it also to other participants if that is easier.
Okay, now it is visible. Thank you.
Okay.
Great. I think we can close this session. Thank you again, Stephen, for this presentation. Thank you to the attendees for attending. We expect you on B2Match 2. I shared also in the chat the link to connect on B2Match. And I thank you very much to our partners, FADE, for arranging this meeting. Celia was here today with us, and she will probably speak during the next session as well. So thank you very much to all. I propose you to close this meeting now, and see you for the next webinar.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.